And to understand all this, we are joined by our guest, Ravi Joshi, Visiting Fellow, Observer Research Foundation, ORF, on the show. Welcome, sir, to the program. So Russia has called the US-Ukraine 30-day ceasefire proposal. The Kremlin aide earlier saying that it was a hasty plan, not in favor of a long-term settlement. And now Vladimir Putin coming on camera and saying that it backs this US plan, but details need to be sorted out. What does all this suggest to you about Russia's intentions regarding a ceasefire?
Thank you. See, first of all, the news regarding Russia's acceptance was a very conflicting reports. Initially, Yuri Yushkov, who is the key foreign aide for Putin, said that Russia is not likely to accept a ceasefire, because this will only give time for Ukraine to arm and rearm and prepare itself to fight better. But he also said that the final statement will be issued by President Putin in a press conference later in the evening. So now I'm happy to note that President Putin has not rejected the ceasefire offer, has accepted it, but has said that we must know what are the details of this ceasefire offer. See, what Russia wants basically is a long-term, enduring peace settlement, which will embody the following points. One is that, according to Russia, Ukraine should withdraw all its troops from the Donbass region, Donetsk and Luhansk, and also Kharkiv and all those regions, which were under conflict for a long period. And the most important region was the Kursk region, which was surprisingly attacked in August 2024 by Ukraine and was taken over. I mean, they almost occupied 1,500 square kilometers of Russian territory. They entered 30 kilometers inside Russian territory, which was an amazing march by the Ukrainian soldiers. This was unexpected because it's far north of Kharkiv and north of Donbass region, where Russia was not actually prepared to having its soldiers on the front line. Now, the second point, which is most important for Russia, is that the neutrality of Ukraine should be ensured, that the NATO membership of Ukraine should be cancelled. There should be no offer at all on board to keep Ukraine keep on tempting Ukraine to join NATO. So that means the Ukrainian constitution has to be amended. The Ukrainian constitution has now made it mandatory for any president who comes to power to seek NATO membership and EU membership. So that has to be amended, and neutrality of Ukraine should be ensured in its constitution. The third point is that there should be no European troops on the ground as peacekeepers or as any kind of monitors, observers of the peace deal. So both Russia and America are almost agreed upon this. I mean, President Trump has made it very clear that Europe has no role to play in this conflict. The way you see the negotiations which happened in Saudi Arabia, there was nobody from Europe on the negotiating table. So it is basically America, Russia first. The first meeting in Saudi Arabia. Second meeting was America, Ukraine. So Europe has been consistently kept out of this entire negotiations by President Trump, which eminently suits President Putin. So these are the major points on which President Putin would be interested in getting and also he is a fourth point, very important, that there should be no security guarantees by the US to Ukraine. So if all these conditions are met, probably then Putin will make his offer. That is my initial understanding of the situation as of now.
Okay, what happens next in search of a peace deal between the two sides? Well, there has been a sudden turnaround from Kremlin, to say so. First, the Kremlin aide says that there is nothing for Russia. Then President Putin comes and says apparently Lukashenko is also in Moscow right now. So both the leaders said that Washington's plan is not what is for the long-term peace. But now there's a turnaround. So how do we see President Putin's, what is President Putin actually looking for here?
You see, as I said very clearly, President Putin is looking for keeping the territories that he has captured. Okay. And that goes against Ukraine's national integrity. And Zelensky has always been telling US during Biden's time that you should maintain the national integrity. Our should be maintained. That is not going to happen. Now, President Putin and Russian troops are in occupation of at least 20% of Ukraine's territory, and Russia is going to keep it. There is absolutely no doubt on that, and Zelensky has to forget it. And this is exactly what Trump hinted when he told Zelensky on February 28th meeting at the Oval Office that you have no cards. You have to accept the reality today. And you have to start from that reality. And you cannot go back and say, now you ensure my integrity of my country. That is not going to happen. Okay. The second point is there should be no security guarantees by the US to Ukraine. This is what Putin is asking for. I mean, security guarantees means that you are pumping in military aid, you are sharing intelligence, you are continuing to keep up Ukraine as a regime for your proxy war against Russia, which is what Biden administration did for such a long period, and which has been disastrous to Ukraine. I mean, Biden administration, by providing military aid of hundreds of billions of dollars, I mean, there's a conflict, there's no clarity whether it's $390 billion or $190 billion, but whatever it was, it only destroyed Ukraine beyond recognition. It did not enable Ukraine to adequately and sufficiently wage a war against Russia. And that was not going to happen. See, you cannot expect Ukraine to actually defeat Russia in the battlefield. And that's the reality. And that's the reality which Trump has immediately understood, and he has tried to drill into the head of Zelensky. You are not going to win this war.
Okay, so
and
how
you have
far...
lost territory, you're going to lose more.
Yeah, so how far, if at all, do you expect the personal rapport between President Trump and President Putin to play a role in reaching a ceasefire or a peace deal?
You see, President Trump himself has been saying that he has got excellent rapport with President Putin. And he has always said that I'm a great deal maker, I'm the best deal maker in the world, and all these kind of very proud announcements he has been making about himself. One very interesting point which has come out in the recent days is that President Trump actually said, I will now make peace deal with Iran. This Iran coming into the picture seems to be entirely an offer made by President Putin to President Trump. It was almost like a quid pro quo that you get me the peace deal in Ukraine, I'll get you the peace deal with Iran, so that Iran will completely give up its ambition for becoming a nuclear power. So this seems to be one of the speculative reports that came out in the newspapers recently. So something serious is cooking between President Putin and Trump. We do not know the full contours of that discussion, but there is definitely some back channel talks are going, or both of them are directly in talks also. President Putin had a 1 hour talk with President Trump. So there has been negotiations, and both have actually established a kind of rapport.
And how much of the minerals deal from Ukraine will be a negotiating factor in these settlements?
Well, Ukraine is the most crucial negotiating factor in the settlement. There's no doubt about it. Because this is a war which has been, if you go back to 2022 February or before that, this is a war which was thrust upon Russia by the relentless march of NATO right up to the doorstep of Russia. Now, NATO was absolutely provoking Russia by saying that now today we'll make Ukraine as a member, tomorrow we'll make Georgia as a member, and then Moldova, and it was going on like that, which was absolutely, a red line as far as Putin was concerned. He had made it very clear that you have already extended to so many Eastern European countries, including Poland and other East European countries. So do not go beyond that. Just certainly not Ukraine, because Ukraine has been a part of the Soviet Union. I mean, it was a country which produced two general secretaries for the Communist Party, Khrushchev and Brezhnev. So it is a part of Soviet Union. and there are so many millions of Russians in the Donbass region. The population of Donbass region, though it has now become half since the war has started, has got an enormous Russian population, and Russia feels that it must protect these Russians against the Nazi attacks by the Ukrainian paramilitary forces in the Donbass region. So this is a conflict which has been in the making since 2014. In fact, when Russia occupied Crimea, it became an open conflict.
Okay.
So it's been a
it's been dragged for
time.
quite long. So Russia has now objected to the potential deployment of foreign peacekeepers in Ukraine. How far could this objection alone prove a stumbling block in any ceasefire or peace settlement?
So, sorry, will you repeat that?
Yeah,
please?
so Russia has objected to the potential deployment of foreign peacekeepers in Ukraine. How could this objection alone prove a stumbling block in talks?
That is not going to happen. Russia has made very clear there will be no foreign troops. This is a balloon floated by Britain and France that they will provide the peacekeepers to protect Ukrainian integrity against Russian attacks. But that is completely not acceptable to Russia, and even President Trump is not accepting it. President Trump sees no role for Europe at all. So I don't see much hope for this peace move of the coalition of the willing, which has been started by Keir Starmer and President Macron of Russia. I don't see any hope for that happening.
So very quickly, Russia-Ukraine ceasefire will still take some more time, in your view?
I see that, first of all, it's a very positive thing that President Putin has not rejected it. Okay, so let us start from that, because initial reports said that ceasefire doesn't suit Russia. Now, President Putin has come out with a more nuanced statement that we will accept the ceasefire of 30 days, no war, but we want to see the details.
Yeah.
So, more details, what exactly are the details, that he will discuss with Trump.
The devil lies in the details. Yes, let's leave it at that. Thank you very much, Ravi Joshi ji, for joining us on DD India News Hour.